What's up? Welcome back to the MindShare Podcast. So, we need to talk about something here. Like you, me, all of us actually. I mean, the entire industry needs to hear this one. And I mean, hey, I think everybody needs to be listening to every single minute of every single episode of this show. But, for today, let's focus on this one right now. This is episode number 384. So think about how much influence the news has, like the negative media. Not even the hardcore people that sit there just watching it all day, but talking in general, right? You're sort of, I don't know, at home, maybe you got it on in the background, maybe it shows up on your social medias or, notifications on your phone. We hear the stuff that's going on, we kind of catch bits and pieces of what's happening, but most of the time, it's always negative, as I just said. Negative news. And it's always talking about how the economy is up, it's down, things are bad. We see all the geopolitical stuff going on. Somebody's blowing somebody up, and we talk about the oil and how we can't get oil. More things are more expensive. What's the price of gold? What's going on with crypto? I mean, most of the time, though, all it does is it talks about the negative stuff happening in the world, which also creates a lot of negativity, creates a lot of uncertainty. And the thing is, when people see it more and more and more, everybody starts to believe it. Nobody questions whether it's real. Nobody questions why it's happening. Nobody goes digging into all of the data for everything to find out, is there actual substance to this? And is it real? Is it not real? Or how big of a problem really is it? I mean, I'll tell you that thing that happened a few years back where everybody followed like sheeple, that was very much because of the news. Had the news not amplified all that stuff, would it really been what it was? See, people also don't break down what it actually means to them personally. People just kind of accept the shit. And then they start to act based on what they think they heard or what people said is going on or what they saw once but never looked into, and then just kind of sit and wait. And maybe don't make decisions. Kind of see what's going on. And I don't think that when we look around our industry, I don't think that the people in our industry think about any of that. And it's not that people don't think about it, but I don't think that they think about it in a way that it connects to the industry. See, we, in this industry, this real estate industry, we've got that same power. That same power to put out a message. Obviously, we're not this big national media, but, we kind of are. Inside of our world, and in fact, inside of this real estate market, we are the media. We are part of the ones who are reporting. We are the feet on the street that are actually talking about what's actually going on. To the people that are in our databases or those active clients of ours, or just, in conversation with people when people ask about real estate, maybe content that we put out there, videos, social media posts, whatever it is. We, the people that are actually working in this business, end up being the source of information to what's going on with this market. Right? Not the internal politics shit that goes on in this business. I mean, every business has that stuff. Albeit I think real estate has more of it, which is just ridiculous. But anyways, what we say and how we talk to people, the messages we share, it matters. And it matters more than you think it does, because every single time somebody says to you, what's going on with the market right now, they're not asking Google. They're asking you. They're not going to AI. They're asking you. And how you and how everybody in this business answers that question, that is exactly what sets the tone for everything after that. So now I ask you, what are you saying? When somebody asks you, what are you actually saying? Because I'm hearing it all the time now, right? A lot of people coming out and going, well, yeah, things are slow. Or it's tough out there. Well, rates are high, and rates are not high. I have no idea where anybody's getting this idea that rates are high. Even at 5%, which they are not high. I mean, I don't want to be paying 5%. I want to be paying no percent. But they've been in double digits before. They've been in high double digits before. Well, high. 12%, 13%. There was times it was at 22%. Here we are in a market where we're like under 5%. Rates aren't high. People talk about the fact that inventory is sitting, days on market is longer. But okay, maybe all of this has some sort of validity to it. Like some of it might actually be true, but it depends where you are. It depends what you're looking at. It depends like what segment of the market you're in. Because I'm talking to people right now from coast to coast, for the most part up here north of the border. And there are a lot of different markets that are absolutely rocking right now. It's I don't want to say it's shocking, because I mean that might as well sound negative. If you're dealing in a big city, Toronto, Vancouver, yeah, you're finding things are tougher right now. 100% you are. Condo markets aren't, on fire, let's say, right? By any means, they're like completely cold. Let's put it what it is, right? But when you start to look at like cottage markets and look, as I said here, recording this one right now, we're sort of, at the top of the spring market, if we want to call it. We still have a little bit of time left, another maybe, 6, 8 weeks, 9 weeks of what we call the typical spring market. Vacation properties aren't flying off the shelf either. But when you start to look around at the small towns, a lot of people are doing really, really well. The outskirts of the big cities doing really well. Things are moving. Now, the thing is this, though, and where I sort of was sharing that is like, it depends where you are geographically, right? It depends what market you deal in. But the moment that we start to say to people that things aren't moving, the moment we start to, share that narrative, everything begins to change. From somebody who was looking to maybe go shopping, from somebody who was looking to maybe make an adjustment for their home, all of a sudden it changes. Why? Well, maybe because you said something that made them change. Maybe they trust you that much that when you said slow, not moving, rates high, not a good market, whatever, they really sat on that one. And you know what I'm talking about, because you can feel it when you talk to somebody, right? All of a sudden that energy that they had, it might have dropped a little bit, or maybe they're not as curious anymore to find out what are the prices, what can I get, where should we look? Oh, look, I'm looking through Realtor. Let me send it to you. I mean, everything just kind of like the momentum just stops, and then instead of actually going after this thing that they might want, they're actually pushing away from it a little bit now. And we don't even realize what we're doing half the time because people are thinking they're being honest about it. Well, I'm just letting them know. I want to be transparent. I want to tell them what's going on. I want to be real about the market. Yeah, but what we're actually doing, we're changing people's perception on the market. And that perception is what drives the behavior, like every time. So you got to think about that message that you're putting out there right now. Like if you're saying things like it's slow, it's tough, people are waiting, what do you expect people to do? They're going to wait. And then people turn around and go like, yeah, I mean, nobody's doing anything right now. And then it just keeps feeding itself and fueling itself. It's like gasoline on a fire. Now, I'm not telling you to go the other way here when I say to you all this. Like you got to turn around and be like, oh my God, it's absolutely amazing. This is the best market we've ever had. Rates are extremely low. You'll never find better. Like all that embellishment too. At some point, people are going to look and go, do you even know what you're talking about? See, that like telling people it's amazing when it's not. That's not what I'm trying to tell you here. This isn't about creating some sort of false sense of hype. This is about a sense of responsibility. This is also about sales volume. Like, what is actually going on out there? Because again, when the narrative starts to change and starts to go too far to one side, we have seen what happens. Right? Again, go back a few years. A few years back, again, when that thing happened, and I hate talking about that thing, so we're just going to call it the thing, but everything was flying. Everything, right? And what were people saying at that time? Think about it. You got to buy now or you're going to miss out. Oh my God, prices just keep going up. You got to get in before it's too late. And then what happened? Sheeple, they just jumped. Like fast. Everybody just started buying. And like too many people, way too many people got in way too quickly. Situations they shouldn't have been in the first place. And a lot of that was driven by the same thing we're talking about right now. A narrative. Everybody saying the same thing. Everybody reinforcing the same belief. That idea that like you have to get in now. That idea that it'll never come back down. Rates are too low. But now, oh man, a lot of those people aren't feeling it. Like, or they are feeling it, I guess. You could say like, from their pocketbooks, like the financial stress, the emotional weight that they're carrying now, the pressure to have to pay the mortgage for that extremely overpriced property that they purchased for money that they didn't even have. Somehow they got that loan. And I believe strongly, there was a lot of wrong information back at that time. Okay? I also believe there was a lot of really greedy people. And that's on all sides. Like the buyers, the sellers, the realtors, the mortgage brokers. Like everybody is to blame. But as I say this too, I really believe that this was more about the overall narrative than it was about people who actually wanted to be greedy or self-serving. Like I said, it was about a sheeple mentality, plain and simple. People doing what everybody else was doing. Like, you know when you go to the mall, or like some venue, some place where there's like, a lot of people walking in and out, and you see the building and there's this bank of doors in front of you, and one person in front of you, or the person, a few people in front, whatever, maybe it's you, but walks through one specific door. There's all these doors to walk through, but you walk through this one specific door. That door is open. And now, because that one door is open, out of the 10 doors that are there, the sheep continue to follow that one door instead of just trying the next one. Like, why don't you just pull on the other door? You might have gotten in there faster. Why'd you have to follow everybody in front? But why? Because that door was open? Were you too lazy to open the next door? Were you too lazy to hold the door for yourself? Or did you not even consciously think about any of that? You kind of just followed because that's where everybody was going. See, nobody actually stops long enough to even think for themselves. People just follow. And across the board, we see it on both sides. We've seen what happens when the narrative pushes people in. And we're seeing right now what happens when it holds people back. And in the middle of all of it, what's in the middle of all of it? You, your business, your career, your money, your success, your time. I mean, it's like an Oreo cookie over here, right? Like, look, your role isn't to push people. And it's certainly not to pull people back. The role that we play in this business, the role that even I'm playing with you right now, is to guide. It's to be the person, and we need to be the people. Those of us in this industry need to be the people that understand what's actually going on. We need to be able to help people make sense of what's going on. Not the flashy headlines, not in quick like AI prompted responses or stuff that it's writing for you. I'm talking about reality here, okay? And when you think about what that means for you, think about your situation right now. Think about your timeline, how much time you have and what you're trying to accomplish at a certain time. And think about your finances. Think about the goals that you have. All of that is a different conversation. And again, when we start talking about things like that with our clients, and we start thinking about them, for ourselves, it becomes a real different conversation. Again, it's where trust is built. Because when somebody feels like they understand something, rather than lack of clarity, they've got full clarity, it becomes a lot easier to take a next step, to act on whatever it was that they wanted. And it's not about being pushy, right? We don't want to be pushing people into something one way or the other way. Instead, we want to help them feel confident. We want to help them understand. We want to put them in a position where they sit back and go, wait a second. Yeah, I get this. I totally understand all angles from it. And when they feel confidence, well, that confidence, never mind, that's going to come from you helping, clarify everything. It's not going to come from all the news. It's not going to come from all the media. It's not, that's where it gets really noisy. That's where it starts to get very confusing and people start to get lost on what truly is going on out there. So when somebody asks you, so what's going on in the market? Like, how is it? Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? Like, tell me, what's the real estate market like? Slow it down. Okay, don't just come out with like a really easy answer or something that you heard and some sound bites you got from somebody else's social media or what it seems like the news is saying, so you're just going to say the same thing. Like, don't be an echo. Think about what you're actually trying to do in that moment. You're not trying to, summarize the entire market in a sentence. You're supposed to be trying to help somebody make a decision. And those are two really, really different things. Because again, the market might be a little bit slower right now, but that doesn't mean it's the wrong market for them. Like, you might think like, oh, well, we're not sure, right? There's some uncertainty. But again, the uncertainty doesn't mean there's not opportunity. Or it's challenging. It's harder to get a deal done right now, right? It's harder to maybe get the financing that people need. Or it's harder to, negotiate the deal, get on the numbers that we want to get on. But again, like, it doesn't mean it's not happening. We already talked about that. There's always something happening. Always. Somebody is always looking to do something. Always. And right now, there's a lot of somebody's doing a lot of things. Our job, though, is to help people figure that out. Are they that person? Is now their time? Not tell them the market isn't good or shut down the whole opportunity before it even starts. So instead, when somebody asks you, okay, because that's a critical question right there. And most times, again, a lot of folks are not paying attention to how important that moment right there is to what your next steps, your next opportunity looks like. Okay, so again, when somebody asks, like, how's the market? First step, think, this right here is potentially an opportunity. Yeah, no, Dave, we were just sitting down, we were watching the game, and they just wanted to know, or we were having a beer, they wanted to know, or we were just walking down the street, at the gym, whatever, they just wanted to know. We're just making conversation. Yeah, but that's what we're missing right there. We're missing the proper screening to what that conversation really means. Why are they asking the question? And in fact, that's exactly where I'd go, right? Because our immediate next step when somebody asks that question, how's the market? Or any variation of it. Again, you got to be thinking potential opportunity. And so that next step would be probe, dig, screen, ask questions. And the one question that I suggest you ask each time, right away, when somebody says it. So how's the market, they ask. You turn around and go, hey, great question. Let me ask you something. Why are you asking? Now, there could be a million responses to that, but this is going to tell us whether they're serious about the question or they're just kind of kicking tires to make conversation with you. Because when you ask that question, they could reply with any answer. It could be, well, I just wanted to know, or it could be, I'm just asking. Could be, like, well, what do you mean? Why am I asking? They could come back to you with anything. But again, the fact that you're asking that is going to give you a green light or a red flag to where is their mind at. And you could reply with again, anything. But if you smell test that they're legitimately wanting to know, then your next question could be something like, well, are you asking as a buyer, a seller, an investor? Tell me more. And notice what I just did there. Okay? So far, we've replied to them with questions. So they've asked a question. Instead of giving them an answer, we've reciprocated by asking an open-ended question. We haven't given them anything definitive in either way. And from those questions and that approach, you're going to know whether you even really need to dive into this whole thing and whether or not you're actually in a position to have a more formal, exploratory conversation. Those are your two screening questions. And if you realize that all of a sudden, you know what? They're actually, they seem to be, and this is where your spidey senses go off, but in your head, they're going, yeah. You're thinking to yourself, this person I think is looking to do something. Then our next two questions should always include, number one, so why do you want to make a move? Again, what are we doing? We're determining their motive. And notice how I did that. Okay, and I'll go back to that in a moment, but the first question being, why do you want to make a move? And the second one, when are you wanting or needing to be in your new home by? And that's where we're figuring out timeline. Right? So again, we're determining the motive, and then we're figuring out timeline. But that doesn't happen till after we ask, great question, why are you asking? Right? So how's the market? They ask. You respond with, great question, why are you asking? If they come back and they seem legitimate on that answer, now your next one is, are you asking as a buyer, a seller, an investor? Tell me more. Notice what I did. If I stopped with, are you asking as a buyer, a seller, or an investor, that was a closed question. Question mark. That's closed. They could come back now and say, oh, I'm asking as a buyer. Notice what happens there. Conversation, or they stop, it's back on you to reciprocate. So the part where I go, are you asking as a buyer, a seller, an investor, question mark, tell me more, the tell me more part actually provokes them to start giving you more information. So those were our two screening questions. Once we've screened and we realize, you know what, maybe there's something to probe into more. Next one, why do you want to make a move? Determine a motive. And when are you wanting or needing to be in your new home? Again, we're figuring out timeline. See, if you're seeing green lights, that's your moment not to answer the question. Huh? Didn't you just say to ask those next two questions? Like I screened them and then you said, yeah. But here's the thing. Again, when I say this is your moment not to answer the question, it's in fact your moment to book an appointment to speak further in more detail. To truly understand the situation, to help them through this process. And this really becomes the first step to booking your next, call it listing appointment. Think about it. Look, that's unless, of course, you just blurt out any answer on the spot, give them some ho-hum type of view on what's up, and not prove your value in any way. And what you've done, too, is you've essentially either armed them with info that helps them push, go to somebody else, or you've pushed them away from wanting to do anything because you potentially put a negative spin on everything. And look, this goes beyond just your one-on-one conversations. This is your content. What are you putting out there every single day? Because if your content's talking about, market update, things are slow, or rates are high, what happens? People are waiting. Inventory is up. Oh, geez, what does that mean? What are you reinforcing every single day? You're reinforcing hesitation. And that hesitation, well, that's the same stuff that is making you wonder why your phone isn't ringing as much. It's all connected. Every single piece of this is connected. The messaging, the conversations, the way we talk about it, the tone of our voice, our perspective on things. As an extension, it becomes our brand. When we think about branding, we think about what are people seeing from you when they interact with you? What are they seeing from you when they see your brand when you're not around? What are people saying about you when you're not around? Everything makes an impact. Everything makes an impact. So got to be thinking about what we say and how we say it. I remember having somebody on one of our momentum trainers was asking me the question. He says, I normally put out a lot of information about the market, but now I have no idea what to say to people because it's all bad, and I don't want to be putting out bad information. It's well, hold on a second. Bad for who? Who's it bad for? For us in the industry because we're not as busy as we were a few years ago? That's not a bad market. You just actually got to do the work. You actually got to prove your value and connect with people. See, we have influence over what people do when it comes to their real estate. And that influence begins to shape the behavior. That's why we need to be intentional about what we say and how we hold these conversations and how we actually paint this market. And that's what I'm telling you. Pay attention to what you're saying. Pay attention to how you're saying it and what you're leading one of these conversations with, because this isn't just about the next deal. This is about how people feel about making one of the biggest decisions of their entire life. And that is no small feat, right? That's not something we could just casually throw some some words at. Like, yeah, whatever. We've got to guide people. You got to be careful with people. You got to be thoughtful. You got to be responsible. And you and I both know there are a lot of people in this industry that could give two shits to be careful, two shits to be thoughtful or to be responsible, but we can't control what they do. We cannot control what they do. We cannot control why they do it. But we know we can control what we do. And if you do it right, you don't got to push anybody. They're going to make that decision and make that move on their own. Why? Because they trust you. And that right there is the entire game we play. All right, just before I run out of this, let's take a quick commercial break here. This episode is brought to you by Kits Keep in Touch Systems. If you're in real estate and you're not staying in touch, you're falling behind. Kits helps you do it properly. And if you're in this game, you need Kits. We're also sponsored by REM, Real Estate Magazine, who just launched their first print edition in a long time. Looks absolutely amazing. They are Canada's go-to for news, insights, and what's actually happening in this real estate industry of ours. While you're listening, head over to MindShare101.com and grab your free Ultimate Marketing Bundle. Learn about the 7 ways to communicate your 2 audiences and how you can build more mindshare to get more market share. And if you're ready to take things to another level in your business, coaching, group training, momentum training, reach out. All right, let's get back into this right now. Look, end of the day, we are not just in a business of transactions, and I get it. We count the amount of transactions, we count the amount of commission, we look at our numbers, and we all want to grow, and we should. You should look at your numbers, but it's not a transactional business. This is a relationship business, and in fact, I'm going to say this is a business of influence. And whether we realize it or not, we are shaping the market more than we think. Every single one of us, one conversation at a time, one post at a time, one message at a time. So we've got to ask ourselves, and I'm challenging you right now to ask yourself, what narrative am I actually putting out there? And more importantly, what is that narrative causing people to do? Because that answer right there, that matters more than any stat that you could quote from anybody. Be careful what you're saying to people. I'm David Greenspan, reminding you to build mindshare because mindshare equals market share. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you next week.